Welcome to the Powerful Women Off the Record podcast, where real women talk about what it takes to remain authentic while leading in a complex world. I'm your host, Elizabeth Veely. Today, I'm joined by Tanya Carney, store director at Wheatsville Co-op in Austin, Texas. I've had the pleasure of working directly with Tanya, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Tanya, oh my God, I don't know, I'm just like so happy we're talking. Okay, so I asked you here today, like I kind of filled you in a few minutes ago about burnout, and I'm connecting with all the women that I know that are just have this inner power, this inner strength. They're in some sort of a leadership position, and they've maintained their authenticity and they've maintained their power. And I'm not saying we don't fall down and get exhausted and go to bed at night wondering what the heck just happened, and or that we're perfect. It's more just like we get back up, I guess, is where I'm going with it. So I just wanted to ask you some questions about how some things that remind you of like who you are and how to get back up. So the first thing I want to ask you though is give me like an example, and you don't maybe it's up to you how much detail you want to give me, but of a time when you knew you had to make a change,
Mm.
like a big change, because something was falling out of alignment, right? So tell me, what were the signs that it was out of alignment? Was it something that your body told you, your gut told you, just something? What was like the flag that went up that you were starting to get out of alignment? And then how did you make that change? Like, what tools did you use to make a big decision and make some moves?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is moving from Buffalo to Austin when I turned 30, and that was kind of very synchronistic. I think that was a big part of it was turning 30 and being like, I have nothing to lose, so let me try something new. But it was more than that. I think you know, my husband Kevin, he had an opportunity to come down to Austin to work, and I really didn't want to. I kind of dug my heels in even deeper, and I was like, no, I love where I am, and I like what I do, and it's very familiar and comfortable for me. Um, and then at the same time, I was like, oh no, maybe I should be doing something different because I could do this for the next 15, 20 years. And what else would I be missing out on? So it was definitely like a little bit of fear of missing out on something because I was so comfortable. Um, and the more that I sat with that and the more that he and I talked about what life could look like in a different city and even just like new restaurants and concerts and people, to me, I think that was the thing that made me really, you know, want to step outside of what I was currently doing. I when we were talking about when we were having all those conversations, um, he kept using the like lobster analogy to describe me because I was like so like stressed all the time and like felt all of this pressure. But he's like, you're just getting too like big for the shell that you're in. Like you need to break out and do something different here.
I love that, like, he was there for you and threw that at you. And I love like the lobster analogy, but like that's really cool to have support like that of someone that just like truly knows you. So did you have any fear around making a move like this?
Yeah, I didn't know anybody. So like not having any friends was a new experience. I think, um, was I financially going to be able to pull it off? And the reality was at first, no, I put myself into an uncomfortable amount of debt that I'm actually like finally have right sized and in a much better place. But it definitely was a big lifestyle change. I mean, Austin is the cost of living here is really intense, and I don't know how people even that are my age that are not on a double income or and we don't even have kids, so I'm like there's a lot of pressure I think financially to be able to pull something like that off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
It's
gosh. I mean,
also
you
a lot of people
stretched
from.
on every way, right? I mean, financially, not having a community there. I mean, you had your team with your husband, which is awesome. So during all that, right? So you have a lot of things swirling. I do love, I think it's really powerful that something inside of you kind of caught yourself saying, I could be really comfortable here for a long time, but maybe that's not the best move right now. Maybe I do need to stretch and challenge myself. And talk to me a little bit about this. Why do you think you're like that? Because I got the benefit of working with you, and you did that with your staff too. Like, so where did you get that? I like that. It's almost like just inside of you. Like you got to stretch to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, I get bored pretty easily. So I think that's the main motivating thing for me is like do the I can't have my focus on one thing for too long. Otherwise, I start to lose interest in it a little bit. So um, I don't know, where does that come from? I mean, I've always loved being in school and like the academic world is where I love to retreat to, and that is what fills me up and gives me a lot of energy. Even like on top of like, having a career. So I think it's just, yeah, I is pretty baked into me. And I probably goes back to my childhood and like being alone a lot and like going like the only place I could go to is like walk to the library and like get books and stuff. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just always kind of been like my retreat when I can't control everything around me, then at least I can like focus on what I'm learning and the things that I want to learn about.
So how does it play out with you now? Because you're so busy. Like where do you find the time and how do you do it?
Well, you can throw yourself into a graduate program, and that's one way to do it. Even though you don't have time, you just make time to do it, and all of your other priorities shift. Um, I would like to do it more. I think that where I'm at right now, I'm kind of getting to a place of like, okay, what's next? Like I've been out of that program for you know, 8 months now, a little, no, actually, it's been longer than that. So I think over a year. So I'm kind of like itching to do something. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a formal education, but something that gives, you know, you don't want to, you want to surround yourself by people that are more intelligent than you and have more experience than you. So any opportunity I can have to put myself in a situation like that, it makes me nervous, but I love to do it.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely get past your nerves. You like podcasts, is that true?
Oh yeah, I listen to podcasts every day. I have like a cycle through the week. So at the beginning, like Monday, Tuesday, I have one podcast that I listen to that's just for fun. It's called The Dating Detectives, and it's all of these crazy stories. So just like living vicariously through people, but also like learning about the pitfalls of romantic relationships or like family relationships. And then like as
It's
I
a
go,
good thing because you're married, so it's safe. Like if you're not married,
yeah,
you might not want to listen to that.
yeah, no, and also like if your friends and stuff, I'm like, well, gotta look out for people. But um, then like throughout the week, like as I get a little bit closer towards the end of my work week, I'll start listening to more of the Harvard Business School, like women in leadership podcasts. Um, there's another one that I like that's called um, Talk Smart or something like that. Hold on. Let me pull up my Spotify list here.
I love though that I mean you said that it feeds you, it fills you up, just constantly learning and it's I mean because you got a lot on your mind to begin with, right? Like you have a really big position and um I think some people think maybe like continuing the reading or the podcast might like make you more tired, but I'm with you where I feel like it's a break of some
Mhm.
sort. It's another thing for your brain to kind of gnaw on, while and then you go back into your reality, but it's more than just learning. There's just something about it.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily about you. Yeah, the other one I like is called Think Fast, Talk Smart. communication
Hmm.
techniques. So yeah, I like podcasts because they're not about me. Like it is an escape. And also it's really easy to just listen to when I'm in the shower. Like I hate taking a shower in silence. So I always will put my phone up next to the shower and listen to a podcast for, 15, 20 minutes while I'm getting ready.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Hey, I got a funny story. I was going to bed the other night and I heard this voice from my in my daughter's bedroom. And like I thought she was asleep, right? And it was just one of those weird moments when you're groggy and whatever, you're walking by a bedroom and I crack it open and there's like this really strange voice like talking, and it turns out she fell asleep to a podcast and it was like a true crime podcast. It was just like working on her while she slept, and I was like, honey, I don't maybe listen to something else on your way
Uh-huh.
to bed, because I found it very spooky, doing that. But she's 22 and she's already loving podcasts, and there's something about it that gets us out of the emotional body, out of all the drama around us. And again, I think gives the brain something else to chew on other than, because I think we're all in information. I'll speak for myself. I think I'm an information overload if you're not careful, and you're doom scrolling. So I love that you give your brain something else to work on. Talk to me about like the other methods. Like I know you're really good at like finding ways to move your body, right? You've got different tricks and techniques to kind of fill that, fit that into your life. What are you doing lately?
Well, the thing I've always been connected to is indoor cycling. So I bought a bike during the pandemic and I still use it, 4 days a week. I've started to cut myself a little bit more slack because, my former self was like, if you're not working out like 6 days a week, then like you're not doing enough. But I'm like, I've since been talking to my doctor and she's like, yeah, no, like 3 or 4 times is probably good. And also like you can't discredit like that movement that you have just living your life. Like I'm walking around a store most of the day. So like the steps add up for sure. So indoor cycling, and that's really more for like the mental, like I like the dopamine hit that you get at the end of that mostly. So it's just kind of I'm definitely somebody that has to work out in the morning. If I don't work out in the morning, it's not going to happen. I've tried.
Yep.
By the time it gets to be 7, 8 o'clock at night, I'm like, no, not going to happen. So it's, I just try to bake it into like my morning routine and it not be like this big to do. It's like 30 minutes. Sometimes it's a little bit less than that, but just something to get the blood moving.
I love that. I love that. And how about food? I know last time we spoke, which was a while ago, I think you were like focusing on like food prep and like, I don't know, like finding some key meals and
Yeah.
fresh produce. What'd you end up with there?
Well, I pack my lunch every day.
That's
Like
huge.
like working in a grocery store, and I like sit down and I eat lunch, which I think more people should do. Like I'm not a power through to the end of the day. Like I need a midday like reset. So I'll pack my lunch and then I'll, take some time away from my desk and go, take the same 30-minute break that everybody else does. And um, so for that, it's really boring. I usually make the same things. I always have like hard-boiled eggs with like a little bit of mustard and pickle, which sounds weird, but like just a little.
Oh, it sounds like an egg salad to me. It sounds
Yeah.
good.
And then just kind of like a really simple salad with romaine and onion, tomato, cucumber. Um, and then usually before I eat lunch, I'll bring, I'm really into like phytonutrients right now and like find like eating all of like the deepest, darkest colors of things. So I've been really into like just having a little bit of yogurt with mixed berries, and pomegranates. Pomegranates are in season right now. So I've been like having 2 of those a week.
So I find this fascinating because you are a manager of a large grocery store and you're bringing your own lunch, and like the power of that, where like There's so much to it. And I never really noticed until I watch again my 20 something kids when, when they leave the house with the lunch that they made, they kind of own that day. I don't know why. There's just something about it where like that decision's made, it's all taken care of, it's going to be healthy because you made it. And then so I think that is just so you, where so many other people would be like, I work in a grocery store. I'm just going to, grab something while I'm here. And the other thing you said that I think is so powerful, and I got in a really bad habit of not doing, is stopping to eat.
Mhm.
Right. And when I really started learning about, especially when you get older, the whole rest and digest, and, it's the body just cannot digest properly if you're running on the go. And so many of us do, right? Whether you're running kids in between things or whatever. And I don't know when I stopped, not taking that break for lunch, but I've had to like retrain myself to actually
Mhm.
stop, sit down and eat a lunch. So I don't like I don't underestimate the power of like these little everyday habits that you have. And then the third one is you mentioned pomegranates, which are in season. And you know
Mhm.
that because you run a grocery store. But the power of eating fruits and vegetables that are in season is just off the charts, right? I mean, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it's harder in Central Texas because the local food distribution system is not nearly as strong as it is, especially on the East or West Coast, which I took for granted fully. So when there is something that is really good and like high quality, I'm always like looking for that thing because everything, you can get everything, but it's not great. Um, so yeah, I think like right now, pomegranates, I'm all beets, like root vegetables, right? Everybody kind of has that like internal thing where it gets to be this time of year and they're like, I'm going to start making stews. And I think it's just like a really cyclical thing. I don't even really think about it intentionally. Um, and maybe it's just because I'm so tapped into, you know, grocery world.
You are, because I'll tell you, when I first started, helping out with the grocery world, I was not in sync at all. Like I remember the big poster on the wall of all the fruits and vegetables and the month that, the harvest would be. And I'm embarrassed to say I was not in touch with it whatsoever. It was such a aha moment for me, or remembrance, I guess, where I was
Mhm.
like, Yes, like, what am I doing? Like, why aren't I eating with the cycles of the earth?"
Mhm.
Right? Because like, instead, if you're not, that means something was like, but like grown months ago and stored somewhere, and the nutrients are just slipping away. So this is once again like just some of this like inherent wisdom that you just kind of, have, and you live your life by, which I think is just beautiful. I think it's wonderful.
And squash right now. I'm really into squash. Like I'll roast like at least one spaghetti squash and then like I don't even half the time when I roast squash, I don't even eat it right away. I just like prep it so then I can eat it later. But yeah, squash is really good right now. And it's been interesting moving to Texas because that cycle has kind of like changed, like shifted by 3 or 4 months. So the things that I've grown up knowing were about to be in season either come like way earlier or a lot later than I'm anticipating that because there's two growing seasons.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit harder to sync up with all that. That is fantastic. So if you had to give advice to somebody younger than you, kind of coming up, in a leadership position, and um which, listen, when I was first coming up, I don't know if I would take advice. I got better at it where I like I don't know when it shifted, but I would always find women like in the next stage just after me so that I could learn from them. But anyways, let's assume we have a young woman who will actually take advice and they're not like me. What would you say, like, in order to maintain your power, maintain your energy, and just maintain your authenticity in the middle of like all this chaos in this world and like having to be a leader?
Yeah, I think you have to know who you are first and like who you want to be. So, I mean, maybe not everybody, but I definitely have like a mantra that I tell myself every day, and every day without fail. Not so much when I'm just like home by myself, but when I'm like gearing up to walk out into the world, at least part of it, and it changes and gets longer and shorter depending on what I'm going through. But it always starts with like I walk through, or I want to, and I do walk through life with an open and humble heart, and I want to spread positive light, love, and energy to everyone around me, and that's really like who I want to be and what I hope people perceive me to be and how I can impact their life in a positive way. So like really knowing who you are and like what your values are. And then at the same time, you are not an emotional conduit for everybody around you because they're going to make you feel like you need to be unintentionally. But I think being a high, like if you're a leader, you're probably highly perceptive. And that can also be a difficult thing to navigate when you kind of take on like everybody else's feelings and emotions around you. So kind of like being there and listening and understanding, but knowing like what your feelings are and where those stop compared to what somebody else is experiencing and their perspective, I think was a hard thing for me to, and still is sometimes when somebody comes at you all emotionally charged and you have to be like, all right, well, how do I feel about this? Or do you want to just tell me how you feel about this? So, yeah, I guess like in short, like you don't have to take on, other people's feelings.
Yeah, which I'm totally with you, can be a little tricky at first because I think it's our emotions and feelings that make us, it's a superpower of ours. And then you have to learn that skill set to not take on others, right? And to get the get past the emotions and into it like a solution while staying authentic. I love your mantra, by the way. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know even where that came from. It's probably been over a decade that it just kind of like is in my mind. And when I'm getting ready to, I'm making my matcha and getting ready to get out the door, I'm like, okay, sometimes I say it in the mirror. Sometimes I say it when I'm walking to my car. Sometimes I
I
say it
love
when I'm
it. I love it.
also, sidebar, something that has been really fun for me lately is Legos. I've been getting really into like Lego building, not in like a weird, like, I have all of these replicas around my apartment on a shelf, but
Yeah, I
there's
don't see any back there.
no, but I have like a little plum blossom. So there's like a Lego botanicals collection.
Oh,
So it's been a really fun thing to like not be on my phone, not be watching TV, and just literally flipping through like a 30-page book of how to put Legos together. it's, it's a fun thing to do.
I love that. That's you creating, right? Like I am really big right now on we are creators. We are women. We are creators, right? And we need an outlet. And I think we often create through our job and through our leadership and everything. But there is something about having a craft or something you're doing at home. And a lot of the women I spoke to, uh, which is funny, it's and no matter the age, like they're like knitting or crocheting or I can't remember the other. Um, but it's not a gender thing. It's like your hands are moving, right?
Mhm,
You're putting together Legos. There's colors. At the end of it, something's like, beautiful and done. It's like our little modern way of creating.
mhm. Yeah, and I didn't even know that I liked them until I saw one at the grocery store, and it was like a little bamboo plant, and I was like, oh, like my lucky bamboo died. Maybe I can build this thing, and it'll be like, you know, it'll stay alive forever. Um, but yeah, it's just a fun little thing.
Before we close, I want to sincerely thank you for sharing your time and perspective with us today. These conversations really matter, and I'm grateful for your openness. Thank you so much. You've been listening to Powerful Women Off the Record with Elizabeth Veely. If today's episode resonated, please share it with a woman who needs to hear it. And if it feels aligned, follow the show so you don't miss what's next. Until then, stay sovereign.